It was stage 4 of the Amgen Tour of California, sponsored by Breakaway from Kansas. The riders going due west today from Santa Clarita to Santa Barbara. 84 miles or 135 kilometers. Just a couple of small hills along the way. And as always, Paul, a nice job at the sign-in. But the course, which although not really hilly, stays up in the high mountain passes.
Yes, pretty lumpy in the middle part of the course as the riders make their way through a very beautiful part of California as they headed away towards Casitas Pass, which would be the last real tough spot of the day.
As always, the breakaway getting away at about 16 kilometers into the race. Chris Baldwin, Chad Beyer, James Stemper, Nathan Brown, Frank Pipp and Marsh Cooper were the escapers, all North American riders. And the biggest lead they were given was just over 4 minutes. With less than 70 kilometers to go, the peloton were beginning to react.
Yes, again, it was the same scenario. The teams of the sprinters sending one man each to the front to keep the tempo going. But it was very important when they got to the first climb of the day at California 150, because Chris Baldwin did not want James Stemper to get any points, because he was second in the King of the Mountains competition behind Baldwin's teammate Carter Jones.
And the tactic worked as well, because Chris Baldwin, who was the best man in the breakaway, starting the day just over 3 minutes behind overall, and at this point still the virtual leader of the Tour on the road. He got the 4 points at the top on the California Highway 150. The peloton going over still around 3 minutes behind.
Well, they'd got it pegged in. A little bit of a descent away as they headed down to the sprint point in Ojai, and the gap was starting to come inside of the 3 minute margin. The main field now was starting to look very aggressive. Ojai, by the way, is known as the Shangri-La of Southern California.
No real sprint though, and it was Baldwin again taking the points at the Visit California sprint point, as they now went through 50 miles a point and 34 miles to race. But the breakaway was now on the last climb of the Casitas Pass, the last challenge of the day.
And in fact, as we expected the attacks to come from Bissell, well, a different rider went out on the attack, and it was the youngster, 21 years of age, from the Bontrager development squad, Nate Brown, who jumped clear of the six-man breakaway.
Hailing from Covington in Tennessee, he was cheered all the way up the pass and first over the top. A nice coup for the young man, who this year had finished second in the Liège-Bastogne-Liège Espoirs under-23 race. That's a big race and a big result for him.
He had an advantage of about 10 seconds over the top of the climb and continued on the descent, while the main field, all of a sudden, the change of card had come to the front, and it was Team Vacansoleil who were starting to get themselves into the action.
But as always seems to happen in top-class professional racing, on a day that finishes down at sea level, you couldn't get any closer to sea level and on the borders of the Pacific Ocean in Santa Barbara, the breakaway was imploding. Last gasp effort by Nathan Brown to hold the whole field off.
Yes, second in the Pan Am in the under-23 time trial championships last year, but when they reached the last climb of the day, not even categorized with 11 kilometers to go, it was 41-year-old Jens Voigt decided to light the dynamite.
Yes, giving Nate Brown 20 years in an age gap. This man was doing the death knell for the breakaway, picking them off one by one. The race behind was also imploding for the moment as they tried to bring back Jens Voigt in the counter move.
Put a lot of pressure onto the move there, but the green helmet you can see there, that's Peter Sagan. He saw this as an opportunity to slip away and try and outfox all of the other sprinters in this race.
And then Garmin took control as they approached the final mile of the race. A split in the roundabouts. Watch the rider top left of your picture. That's Matt Bernier, the champion of Ireland. He stole a march by going the shorter way round, and he made a desperate bid for victory with 2 kilometers to ride.
Yes, he's been champion of Ireland for the last 3 years. As they went under the Kenda, 1 kilometer to go, he was still holding on to a slim advantage, but the sprinters' teams now were really scrambling to pull it all back together. And it was Orica Greenedge at this point who seemed to have grasped control. On the right-hand side, Peter Sagan's men, well, they were just waiting.
But it was the Optum Benefit, Kelly Benefit strategy team who were trying to bring Ken Hansen to the line, and as they finally broke for the line, it was Tyler Farrar locked in his wheel. Farrar moving forward, and he must have been asking himself, where was Peter Sagan? Sagan coming late on the right. Farrar getting the stage win ahead of Ken Hansen, and Peter Sagan, maybe because of the earlier effort he'd made on the climbs, losing the little edge to finish off the sprint win. Farrar got the result in the end, and with all of the riders coming in together, they were all given the same time. So the overall leaderboard was unchanged for the second full day.
The power of the man from the Garmin-Sharp getting the victory he'd been looking for. But as you said, Phil, no change in the overall standings.
TJ Van Garderen looking for 12 seconds. Phil Daigan looking for 27. Unchanged from yesterday as we get closer towards the time trial on Friday. There he is, and beginning to smile now. Yannier Acevedo is James Hagan's Berman. Small team here in the USA doing another good job, keeping him out of trouble today and guiding him through to another stage tomorrow, which should be for the sprinters as we continue onwards from Santa Barbara.